Welcome back. Today we're doing a bit of a deep dive into something I think, well, everyone feels sometimes. That really profound, kind of unsettling feeling when attention focuses right on you. And we're not just talking about, general social anxiety. This is more specific. We want to get at the structural root of why focused attention feels so uncomfortable. Think about this. We've all been there. You're moving through a crowded place, right? A lobby, maybe a street. You're just part of the background noise, the texture, safe,
Oh, no.
grounded.
Ambient.
Exactly. Then, bam, your whole perception shifts. You notice someone's looking at you. And it's not just a glance. It's sustained, intentional.
Yeah.
And right in that second, something inside just collapses, doesn't it? You feel totally exposed. Why does that single gaze feel like it reveals everything? All the messy, unfinished bits.
Well, that sudden, almost dizzying feeling, that sense of being laid bare, it's a really profound perceptual thing. We actually call it Gestalt terror.
Gestalt terror, okay.
Yeah, see, Gestalt thinking tells us reality isn't just there. It's not passive. Our minds are actively organizing it all the time. We're carving out a specific shape, a figure, from this sort of infinite backdrop, the ground.
Right, figure from ground.
Exactly. So when that focused gaze hits you, you're essentially yanked out of that safe, blurry ground. You're forced into becoming a defined figure in their head, in their perceptual field.
Which brings us straight to this, huge paradox in how we live now.
Yeah.
Because we crave being seen, don't we? We put so much energy into getting validation, attention online, applause.
Likes, followers.
All of it. We want to be the figure, but then the second we feel truly seen, not the polished version, but the raw, to find us in someone else's focus, we just recoil, intensely.
Right.
Why do we fight so hard against the very thing we seem to be chasing?
Because being the figure, well, it demands closure. That's the key. To be a figure is to be picked out, selected from all the possibilities and pinned down, defined. And the mind, yours and the observer's, it structurally hates incompleteness. It can't stand it. It compulsively tries to make the figure make sense. Coherent, finished, bounded. But inside, we're usually flux, contradictions, half-formed thoughts. Right?
Yeah, definitely not finished.
So when an outside gaze demands you suddenly be finished, whole, coherent, well, that feels terrifying, structurally terrifying.
So being framed by someone's attention is almost like a kind of violence. It flattens you. It takes this messy, evolving, living thing and sort of squishes it into something static, stable.
Consumable.
Right. Consumable. That's a good word for it.
Exactly. And that's the structural part. Philosophers like Sartre talked about the look, how others turn us into objects. But the real terror, I think, isn't necessarily moral judgment. It's the structural need of perception itself. The Gestalt field just has to resolve ambiguity. It has to complete the picture.
By force, almost.
By force, yeah. It sands down those internal rough edges, collapses all your different facets into one digestible shape. That structural reduction, that's what feels unbearable.
I really see this playing out, even in situations that are meant to be positive, like praise. Think about being singled out unexpectedly in public, praised for something, big spotlight moment. If being seen is the goal, why do we physically feel so uncomfortable? The blushing, the urge to just deflect.
Oh, it's nothing.
Totally. There's a team effort. Why do we do that?
That shrinking feeling, it's structural protection. Praise isolates you. It pulls you right out of the group hum, the ground. And suddenly, you're this highly visible figure, accountable, vulnerable.
Vulnerability.
So it was nothing response. It isn't really about humility, it's about survival. It's a desperate reflex to blur the edges again, dissolve back into the safety of the undefined ground, escape that sharp focus.
It's like a frantic escape from being made coherent before you're ready.
Precisely. Running from premature closure.
Okay, let's take a really common social thing. You're at a party, feeling okay, just blending in, and someone turns to you and says, "So tell us about yourself."
Yeah.
Benign question, right? It feels like a demand.
It is a demand. It's a demand for immediate, on-the-spot figure-making. You're being asked to define yourself right now. Make yourself coherent for consumption.
And you can't possibly show the real, messy, contradictory truth in that moment.
No way.
No.
So you construct something. A safe, curated version, a simplified character that fits the situation.
And playing that character is just exhausting. Because the real stuff has to stay hidden. So the deep fear here is fixation, isn't it? Being caught in that snapshot, turned from a verb like becoming into a static noun, a thing that's known, consumed.
Yes, the terror of premature closure being forced on you from the outside. real closure, real integration. It needs to bubble up from within, organically. When someone else's perception forces it, that feels like violence, like being cemented into a shape that just doesn't fit who you are or who you might become.
It makes me think of that image we see with kids sometimes. A toddler dancing, totally free, pure motion. Unself-conscious figure.
Pure presence.
Then an adult watches, really focuses, maybe smiles or laughs with affection, and the kid just stops, freezes, hides their face.
Yeah, the freedom's gone.
Instantly replaced by performance or shutting down. They learned shame, discomfort, not from being told off, but just from being seen that way.
And that moment, that's the doorway into understanding these principles of identity retreat. See, our identity isn't one fixed thing. It's more like a series of figures that emerge depending on the context, the field. The you with your close friends is different from the you alone at night.
Right. Completely different.
So we're not really hiding from people. We're hiding from fields that threaten to lock us into one fixed shape. The first principle we see there is figure ground dynamics. That child hiding, that's an instinctive rejection of figure status. Retreating into the ground, becoming part of the background again, that's where we feel undefined, fluid, free to shift. The ground is sanctuary, structurally.
Okay, that reframes retreat as something active, almost healthy, a defense.
Yeah.
But what if you can't retreat? What happens then?
Then you run into the second principle, the law of closure. The observer's mind needs to complete the picture you present. And since your true self always has gaps, ambiguities, unfinished parts,
They fill them in.
with their own stuff, projections, assumptions, past experiences, fantasies, the result is always miscompletion. You're not actually seen. You become this simplified caricature based on their internal world. You're forced into a shape that feels wrong, incomplete, misunderstood.
Wow. That's the structural basis for feeling profoundly misunderstood. It's built into the act of perception. And you mentioned a third principle, isomorphism.
Yeah.
That sounds intense. How does that make it an internal prison?
Isomorphism basically means structural mirroring or alignment. The external field, maybe society, your job, your family, defines you as a particular closed figure. Let's say you're defined only by your career success. That's the figure everyone sees and reinforces.
Okay.
Over time, your own internal perception starts to unconsciously align with that external definition. You start to mirror it. You begin to shrink to fit the frame they've built.
Oh, wow.
You might suppress desires, interests, even parts of your history that don't fit that successful professional identity imposed from outside. You police yourself.
So we end up locking ourselves in through aligning our own perception with how others see us. And that chilling moment when someone looks right at you and says, with total confidence, oh, I know exactly who you are. That feels like a kind of death, doesn't it? The death of possibility. Because you feel this pressure to ditch all the parts of you that don't fit into their neat little box.
You feel completed by them. And that imposed completion feels like an end to your becoming, your process.
Okay, but let's push back on this a bit. This figure we're so scared of showing the messy, contradictory, not finished self, we hide it thinking it's a flaw, a weakness. But you're suggesting this resistance, this unframeable quality. That's actually our depth.
It absolutely is. The figure we keep hidden. Often that's the truest figure. It's hidden precisely because it's too potent, too alive to be easily captured and framed. It resists easy closure. And when that unpolished truth starts to take shape, when you dare to let your vulnerability, maybe your shadow, your wildness emerge, it doesn't just push people away. It acts like perceptual gravity. It draws things in.
So when that raw truth shows up, the field doesn't collapse. It actually expands. It's like you're giving unspoken permission for others to be unfinished too.
That is the structural shift. Real insight, real change. It doesn't happen when the figure is neat and complete. It happens when the whole field reorganizes itself because something previously hidden steps into the light. When the suppressed figure emerges, it wakes up the whole landscape. Seeing your own shadow as a vital figure, not just a flaw to hide that, is the necessary perceptual shift.
So mastery isn't about avoiding being seen. That's impossible anyway. It's more about learning to orchestrate the conditions, how you emerge.
Exactly. Orchestrate the conditions of emergence. Learn to choose your field, choose the context. And then offer a living figure, one that dares to be incomplete in public, that actively challenges that violence of premature closure.
Okay, that provides a framework, a way to navigate this.
Yes. And that brings us to maybe the deepest insight here. It kind of flips the whole thing on its head. We've been talking about the fear of their perception, right? Being seen by the other. But Gestalt asks us, are you really separate from the field you perceive? The most profound truth might be that you are the field. Your consciousness is a perceptual field, and every single time you look at another person, you are doing it too. You're completing them, simplifying them, collapsing them into a figure that meets your internal needs for coherence. So the fear of being seen, being misunderstood, being fixed, it's partly a fear of your own perceptual habits mirrored back at you. You assume they must be doing to you what you know on some level you're constantly doing to them.
Wow, okay, so the real fear isn't just that they'll get us wrong, it's that we know we get them wrong, structurally, and we project that onto their gaze.
So the way forward isn't about hiding better, it's about perceiving differently, both outwards and inwards. It's about cultivating the capacity to hold space for incompleteness, to tolerate ambiguity, to actively resist that compulsion, to force closure on others, and crucially, on yourself. The new Gestalt, the healthier one, is figure and process, where any sense of closure is just a temporary pause, a resting place before the next unfolding.
Which means the practice is really about standing in that radical honesty, isn't it? About your own fragments, your contradictions, your ongoing becoming. And when you embody that, you actually change the field around you. You invite co-creation, not just consumption.
And this leads to the ultimate invitation, and maybe the most unsettling possibility. You spent your whole life terrified that if they see your shadow, the real, messy, unfinished, maybe even difficult self, they'll reject you. But what if that figure, the one you're hiding, what if that's the very thing they fall in love with?
Because that's the only figure that allows for real depth, real connection.
Exactly, because it's real. It invites participation, not just observation.
That's the figure that could actually set the whole field free. Okay, so let's leave you, the listener, with this thought, something to just hold, to suspend and contemplate. What if the part of you that you're most afraid to show is the very part that holds the key to setting you free?